Welcome to another edition of Mortgage Talks. I'm your host, Adam Hires. Got another big one in store. Got another big dog. Guy that's going to really bring the heat. Runs a great podcast himself. Got a great mindset, and is going to help me and you figure out how to go from zero loans, zero contacts to 150 loans this year. You all know I'm on a mission, an absolute mission to do 150 loans in a new state. Moved from Kentucky to Georgia to do it. And as someone said yesterday when they listened to my podcast and is in the industry doing really well, I'll give a shout out to him. He said it's a real ballsy move, is what he said. And yes, it's that and stupidity. But you know, sometimes you just got to lay it all on the line. You got to burn your ships, because I keep talking about this out there, is that I have this business going well in Kentucky, and it's so easy to go, man, I can just grow that. I can do fine, because all of a sudden, I get 3 or 4 or 5 ads come in. I got a contract here, got a contract here. Things are going well. And that whole mind game, right? It's kind of like when, if you've ever been like, I'm gonna go jogging or something. I'm gonna do a mile, and then you're like, man, quarter mile, I'm cool, or whatever you're doing, trying to do 5 miles, and it's like, you start talking yourself out of things, right? You just start talking yourself out, and you have all this self-talk, and I battle against that. I'll be honest with you, because when I came in the game and I did really well right off the bat, I didn't have anything. I didn't have money. I mean, I had to just make it. Totally make it, no fail safe, all that. Well, now I have this good business. I'm making good money. Everything's going well. And then, so the mind just plays tricks on you. Well, I don't have to do this. Oh, well, no, I have to do this goal. And that's why I put it out there. So everybody has different mindset on goals of how you should put it on out there for people to know about it or not. I mean, I believe personally in putting it out there and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And really, this is for you all, again, to grow, to help you grow into the best version of yourself, and make sure that you are, you're not giving yourself the easy way out, because we give ourselves the easy way out. We don't push outside of our comfort zone. And this is definitely pushing me outside my comfort zone, because again, all the mind says, man, you don't have to make that next dial. Man, you're okay. You just got 3 apps, man, from Kentucky, like in the last hour. Everything's okay, right? But it's not okay, because where's the deals coming from in there? So, and as we look at anything, we can look at, if we need to do a certain amount of numbers. That's why I say, in my playbook, you can say, okay, I need to have 100 people, for example, say yes to pull my credit, for example, and where's those referrals coming from? And I always say, because there's like different categories, real estate agents, business professionals, client direct, all that, right? Family, friends. But I say always, when you're going and you're putting each box in there, then you're trying to strive for something. And when you add those boxes up, they should equal more than 100, because you're pushing each one, because you're always behind in something. There's always some kind of behavior not there, whether it be like we're talking about with today, it's talking about a team, like, hey, our past client and client referrals are not where they need to be. It's a behavior. Are we just asking every single person to do that? And of course, I had my team, hey, listen, you got to fill this thing out if you ask for a referral or not. You're doing a really good job, ask for a referral. So that's the same thing when it comes to this new state. Is, again, everything feels good, because like, well, but no, it's like, what is happening in this state? What's happening in this state? How can I dial in? How can I get outside of my comfort zone? The good news is, month one, first month, I don't have any deals under contract. That's not good news, right? But the good news is, I've got like 20 people say yes to pulling a credit first month. I've got pre-approved buyers looking. So sometimes that takes a second for people to find a home, especially right now. So we know I'm going to be, these first 3 months, that first quarter, I'm going to be behind that 8 ball. Because if you say, okay, I'm doing 150 loans and you do 12 and a half loans a month. Well, I know that first quarter I'm going to be behind, and I'm going to have to make up ground as I go. And towards the end of the year, getting to the 20 loans a month kind of thing. So but I got no time to waste. I got no time to waste. I've got to get it. So, I mean, again, this has really, again, taught me how much the mind plays tricks on you, how you need to reset every single day, and how you need to put yourself in. I got this wristband here, no choice for growth, legacy, impact. I'm putting myself in no choice, because every time I want to pull back, I say, no, Adam, you got to go back on your podcast on Monday and talk about the journey. And you can't lie about it. You got to be real. What's going on. And so the good news is I got 8 or 9 real estate agents committed to sending me business first month. So some of those are outbound, what I got. Some are virtual assistant. I started getting a virtual assistant to help me, because there's a 80-20. 20% of what you do produces 80% of the results. But you also need to try to chunk down into what is the 80-20 within that 20%, which is 4%, which is really growing your business. How can you do more 4%? And 4% for me, in that 4%, is definitely getting in front of people, having conversations on a Zoom call at a coffee or whatever, real estate agent. So how can I be most efficient with that? I got another powerful event going on where I'm trying to help people grow their business, get butts in the seats. So things are starting to pay off. It's coming. It's exciting. Got partnerships. They're like, man, you're fantastic. I get them on the Zoom. What I like to do is I have a team. I get them on a Zoom call after I've talked to them with my team, pull them in, let them know how much we love them. It's all about that follow up and follow through, people. Like Monday, today, big dial day. I'm back right in front of them. Hey, what's going on? Any questions you have? Anybody you need us to follow up on? I shoot a video that helps them with something loan related and something that's going to help them grow their business. So again, it's all about just staying in front and providing real, true partnership and value. So that's what I got. I don't want to talk too much longer, because I need to get my guest on here to tell me and smack me around and tell me how dang good he is, right? But really good guest here. I was on his show. He's coming on my show. I'm just completely honored. And he is also going to share, we know how we do it, people, is he's going to tell me the 3 things he would do to grow from 0 contacts to 150 loans in a new state if it was me. I think it's very valuable to get these really successful, good people, even outside the industry, look at it and say, hey, this is what I would do. And so it's kind of like sand, you pick up a sand, some it's going to fall through, but whatever speaks to you on this podcast, someone's going to stick and go, oh, that really speaks to me. And that's what I'm going to do to drive my business and grow. So very honored to have John Abbas on here of Mentor Nation. Great podcast. Check it out. John, buddy, great to have you on.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm glad to be on here, and thanks for having me. And I'm excited to add some value to your audience today. Let's do this thing.
Absolutely. John, well, again, love the podcast. It's going really well. You're definitely trying to provide as much value to the listeners as possible, and it shines through. So John, just tell us a little bit about you. What's your why? Yeah. What do you do? Man, just give us a scoop.
Yeah, so absolutely. I do a lot. I a serial entrepreneur today. Me and my fiance, we own a few traditional businesses. So I own a large preschool outside of Nashville. We have over 150 amazing kids, pretty big business. We own a med spa here in Nashville as well. And, my fiance is in real estate. So right in line with your audience here. But we just do a lot of investing as well. Over the years, we've carved out a niche of finding businesses where we can add value, and we purchase the business and we turn it around, implement systems, and That's what we do today. But obviously, it wasn't always like that. I grew up very, very poor. I joined the Navy at 17 years old because my family didn't have any money. I didn't, no money for college, no money saved up. And I just hated seeing my parents like having to like go into debt just to pay for my food and things like that. So I saw a way to make my own way at 17, joined the Navy, and I was off and, traveled the world. And that's when I really decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, just being in a box and being told what to do and earning as much as the next guy, even though that I had 10 times the work ethic. And so that's when the seed was planted to be an entrepreneur. And I got out after 6 years, and I've been an entrepreneur ever since for, wow, 20 years. 20 years. I'm 38 now. So it's been 20 years. It's been an amazing ride though.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It definitely takes a different mindset for sure to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself, and that's what you did, right? Constantly betting on yourself, starting from zero every day, right?
Yeah, well, wearing karate pants to school because you don't have a lot of clothes is one way to motivate you to want to make money. It's fascinating to see where motivation comes
Mm,
for different people. For me, it was growing up poor and not
yeah,
having any money, but I have friends that they grew up successful, and their motivation was instilled from them by the example that their parents set. And so, you asked earlier, like my reason why. I have three daughters,
mm,
and my reason why is just to be an example for them at all times.
yeah,
I don't mean to get all philosophical, but the world today, we need more examples. It's a lot of people, they're so entitled, they're lazy, they don't have the work ethic, the values that we had growing up, 20, 30 years ago. And I think a lot of this new generation has lost that. And so, my reason why is just to do the best that I can do for them, to
yeah,
build a successful life, but not just having a lot of money in the bank, for them to see me building something, growing something, constantly improving and
mm,
getting better. That's what really wakes me up every day and gets me out of bed and gets
yeah.
me going every single day. So
Yeah, I love that. I mean, because I've talked about this so many times. I mean, we all want to make a great living and be able to pass generational wealth, all that good stuff.
absolutely.
But when it comes down to it, the nuts and bolts of getting you out of bed in the morning, you're thinking about something much larger, and that why. And I love that. I mean, you can definitely tell it's what's pushing you forward, because just like my success back here with Winston Churchill, and that really is just going from one failure to the next, and no loss of enthusiasm. Because boy, I tell you, as entrepreneurs, as business professionals, like you just fail more than anybody, and you just keep on resetting, digging in with that why, and just saying no,
Yep.
no, you ain't gonna get me. So I love entrepreneurs and people that are driving forward, because I just love that will to win. And just like in sports, it's just that will to win.
Definitely.
And that's what really I just love it, and I get motivated about, because like you said, I think in the opening was somebody doing the same amount of work and they're making the same amount of money. I want to see the Lions out there trying to crush it, and getting up and
Absolutely.
just and just pushing right through the pain.
Yeah, for the people listening today, it's really important. You make a good point, but I just I want to let you all know that it's important for you guys to listen to like Adam's podcast, because it's rare. I read a lot of books, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and most of them are people, they're already successful, they've already made their millions, and they're teaching you from a point of reflecting back years
Yeah.
ago. But there's something that's so powerful from when you're learning from someone that's actually in the grind, like
Mm,
you are right now. Like you just teach
mm,
differently because you're actually doing it.
mm,
You're not teaching what worked maybe 10,
yeah.
15 years ago and it's irrelevant. And so for all of your listeners, like, you guys need to appreciate the fact that Adam is doing this. He picked up, moved to a completely new city. He's keeping you guys like updated every day on what he's doing and what's working, what's not working. I mean, you could learn a lot from that. I would have killed 20 years ago to have had a podcast. This is way before really podcasts were a thing, where there was somebody just that was in the grind like me,
Yeah.
that was a few steps ahead of me, giving me the actionable steps that
Yeah.
I could do right now. And that's really powerful, man. It's really cool what you're doing with the podcast. That's why I really like it a lot.
I appreciate it. And yeah, it came to me at the end. I've talked about this maybe a couple of times. It came to me. I was like, man, why don't I chronicle this? I think that would be good because
Mm-hmm.
I came from a spirit of like, hey, let's just help everybody. And I do love to help regardless, because right now I kind of took a step back of trying to coach so many people. Because I was like, okay, I'm gonna grassroots again and like try to replicate again. Because once I replicate it twice, then it really sticks in my mind
Right.
what needs to be done or how I can help other people. And I put it out there, and it was then all of a sudden I was like, oh, fear said to go, oh man, well, what have I done here? But I just looked at it from a point of perspective like you. If I was me, would I want to listen to this? And it's like, heck yeah. I mean, if I could have came in the mortgage industry and like, this is real time, again, not somebody that's already done it. And because even on podcasts, there's some really good ones out there. And somebody just had catapulted and did 3 times as much business, which I love to listen to. It's really
Mm-hmm.
good to listen to, but there's never, it's like in the moment where they're leading up to that, because I mean, there's so many things that goes through your head, and I'm thinking about what's going on here, and how the pain's hitting you, and all this. It's just, it's a cool journey. Not because it's me, because it's just, it's something I would want to hear. But I appreciate that. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, Mentor Nation, you got Mentor Nation. That's really good. It's gained a lot of traction. What I mean, what's the favorite part about your podcast and what you've done to grow that? And
So we're in the midst of building a tech startup right now, and it's called Mentor. And
mm,
it's kind of like Airbnb, but for learning instead.
okay,
And so I started the podcast originally because I knew that if we're going to build an endeavor this big, I need to have a good following. I need to make the right connections. And so for me, starting a podcast was strategic at first. The mindset behind the podcast was, I love attending events, Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, like the people that I look up to. And I've noticed over the years that, when you're listening to a keynote speech, a lot of times they deliver the most amount of value in a
mm,
keynote because, they're paid
right,
$100,000 to be there for 45 minutes and they have to serve a lot
same
of
as me,
people.
pretty
Yeah.
much. I'm just
Yeah,
joking.
yeah,
I'm just
absolutely. Maybe
joking.
times 10. Yeah. So they don't have a lot of time and they have to deliver massive value. And so, the idea originally was, is what if I created a podcast where I could take the value of a keynote speech and deliver that to an audience through an interview? But, it's been a year. The podcast has grown into thousands of listeners and I love it. I enjoy it. I am not monetizing the podcast
Mm,
in any way. I may do that at some point, but I love it because I've made incredible connections. I've built a
mm,
great community and I've realized that, people just want to do better. People just
mm,
want to listen to
yeah,
things that can help them. And you never know when you're going to get that aha moment.
yeah,
I've had guests on that have said something and then one of the listeners emailed me, was like, that was it. That
yeah,
changed everything. And so it's a lot of fun and it's just a blast growing it. And just being able to serve people. Cause like Tony Robbins says, once, and for those of you guys listening, at some point, if you grind, you're going to get the money out of the way. And I don't mean being rich,
right,
but I mean, you're going to have enough money where you can pay all of your bills, you can live comfortably, you can invest. And when that happens, the real motivation comes from growth and contribution.
mm,
Tony Robbins says it best. When me and my fiance we became millionaires, meaning we hit $1 million net worth, it just we were like, what's next? How do I keep myself really hungry? How do I keep myself from getting comfortable? and it's just growth and contribution.
Yeah.
You continue growing, you give back, and that's how you keep leveling yourself up even after you get the money out of the way. Now if you're at a point now where you're just trying to figure out how to get to six figures or high six figures, you got to grind, you got to do the work,
Mhm.
just like you said, Adam. It's a grind. I've had to do it for years, whether it's cold calling, building. I mean, it's just some businesses are harder than others, but
Mhm.
you know, I personally feel that it's easier today to become successful and stand out than at any other point in history. And we live in a country that's easier than any other country in the world to be successful. All you got to do is work hard, surround yourself with the right people, do the right things, be in an industry where there are people succeeding, which we know real estate and mortgages, people are doing it. My fiance is been in real estate for a few years. She's absolutely crushing it. And I can tell you just from watching her every single day, there's so many people in mortgages and real estate that don't follow your advice. Like they're terrible. They don't even answer their phone. They don't return phone calls. It's just like
Yeah.
it's shocking. And my fiance's broker, she's one of the top brokers in the country. Like she sells hundreds of millions of dollars a year in real estate. And we were sitting down at dinner and she was saying that she's like, it's so easy to succeed. All you have to do is show up, take this business serious,
Mhm.
do the work, follow up, be professional, and you will crush it in real estate, especially now when the
Yeah.
market's great. So
Yeah.
I went on a little bit of a tangent, but I just
No,
wanted
I
to
love
throw
it.
that in there.
I love it. I mean, I go off on a tangent forever about that. It's because it's like, real estate agents, and I'm not butthurt by it. Just be, but it's like you can call somebody, you can call a real estate agent that they don't even know your number. I mean, and I've tested this. This is in Kentucky, this is in Georgia, and I'm sure it's in Tennessee and it's in California. It's everywhere. And call, I don't leave a message, right? No call back. I'm just like, how? And I mean, literally, like you can make 20 calls like that and get
Yep.
maybe two or three calls back. Just think about that. There's no way if I see red on there that myself or my team is not getting back. It's like, hey, because a lot of mine's forged. My team's like, I'll follow up. Did you get a hold of, and of course now, you can build that trust. There's no way. I mean,
Yep.
it's crazy. So you're absolutely right. Standing out, making a follow through, and just, man,
But it's
it's
getting out
crazy.
of your
But
comfort zone. I'll tell you a story, and this is a little bit off of a tangent too. But so my second business that I ever owned, my first business was a small construction company. I got really lucky. I was 23 years old. We started a roofing company right after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, and we did real. We made a couple $1 million in a year, and I was 23. And I was an idiot back then. I blew through most of it. I took most of the money that I'd saved, moved to Vegas, and I opened up a restaurant. And it was the worst time. It was right before the recession. And the recession hit. And I went from making more money than anyone in my family ever had at the age of 23 to getting into over $200,000 in debt at the age of 25. My restaurant went under. My condo got foreclosed on him. It was a disaster. And so I was trying to figure out how to stay an entrepreneur. Uh, all businesses were going under. You know what it was like in
yeah,
2008, 2009. I was living in Vegas where it was just like everything was collapsing, one of the worst hit markets. And I ended up getting involved in network marketing. It was like I didn't even know what it was. It was just like the only industry that I could see a way to stay an entrepreneur. It didn't cost a lot to get started. So I got involved in this network marketing direct sales company, and it was all about telecommunications, like cell phones, internet, TV. And so I moved back to Nashville from Vegas. No contacts, just like you, no credibility, nothing. I'm 25 years old, $250,000 in debt, trying to talk to people about an opportunity to make residual income. And so, long story short, I struggled for 2 years. And like, I had two kids. We were almost homeless several times. I mean, it was bad, bad. And I'm in this network marketing business, and I'm just like about to throw in the towel. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, I offer services, cell phones, internet, TV, home security. I make a residual income for every customer. And then if I build a team, I get a percentage of what my team does. And so I remember thinking to myself, like, Well, realtors makes the most sense because every realtor, every time they sell a home, their clients are going to need all these services. That's the first thing they're going to do. And so I have a buddy of mine who's a realtor print a list of every realtor in the state of Tennessee. I'm sitting on this list and I'm like scared. I mean, I'm serious. I'm scared to death. I've never cold called anyone in my life. Like, I'm scared to death. My family, we don't even know how we're going to feed ourselves. I'm like embarrassed, like you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this list and I'm just like, I got to cold call these realtors. I have to do it.
Mm.
And it was so uncomfortable. And I remember going to the library. I got this conference room and I stare at this list for like, I've had it for 3 months, but I stare at it for like an hour. I'm like drinking a Red Bull, walking. I'm like doing weird shit to hype myself up.
Yeah.
And I started cold calling and I didn't even know what I was saying, but I started cold calling and I was just like, hey, listen, I have an opportunity. You're in real estate. This might or might not be a good fit. I just kept, and then I'll never forget this. And I just want everybody to hear this story because this changed my life. I call this lady and I don't know who's a top producer, who's not. I just have a list.
Right.
And I call this lady and I pitch her over the phone. She's like, I don't have time for this shit, and hung up on me. And I'm like red in the face. I'm getting hung up on. And I'm like, I take a break for a minute. And then 5 minutes later, she calls back and she's like, you know what? I'm really sorry. I am never that rude to people. She's like, because I treated you that way, just come to my office, show me what you got. I'll listen for 15 minutes. I drove out there. I showed her. She ended up liking it. Her business was, even though she's one of the top agents in the state of Tennessee in '09, her business was struggling too. She got involved in my business. And because of that phone call, within 3 months, I was making over $10,000 a month. We started paying off debt. That literally changed my entire life. And I got to a point where I saw that result and I got so good at cold calling realtors that I was able to close 6, 7 out of 10 at that time.
Nice.
And I tell this story because when you're trying to make it happen, you got to get out of your comfort zone. And you never know where something will lead and how it can happen. But the most important lesson here is that thing that you hate doing that will lead to a result. When you get good at it, it's actually the most gratifying feeling ever. I remember when I went to the top of that company and I was making 30, 40 grand a month, everybody would crowd around me and listen to me cold call realtors. And that thing that scared the shit out of me was actually like, I took pride because I did it so many times. I was so confident that people would watch me. And it was like the greatest feeling ever. Like when you get good at something that's hard as fuck, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can cuss or not, but when you get good at something that's hard as hell and because that most people aren't willing to do it, there's a feeling that you get that's awesome. And so you doing these dials, I'm telling you guys, like it's not easy.
Yeah.
But man, when you get good at it, everybody will wonder how you did it. And it's it's such a great feeling, man. It really is.
Well, I tell you, there's a lot. There's a lot there. That was definitely fire. I love it. The whole story, man, put up against the wall and just man, fighting your way out of the corner, like just
right.
just throwing bombs out of the corner to get yourself back. It's an amazing story. And I think, and the last thing that you're talking about, I think it's like David Goggins. You ever listen to David Goggins? Like, God,
Absolutely.
It's crazy. By the way, so if you out there, if you have not listened to it, to Can't Hurt Me, the Audible version, like it's crazy. It actually, what's kind of funny about that one too is that, like, for 2 days I was kind of in a haze after I finished it because it kind of brought me almost into like a bad state, like, because I was like, and then it kind of I had to kind of soak it in of how what that all meant to me, because it was just, but he talked about the callous mind, right? He talks about the callous mind. And I'm a firm believer that, it's still good, whether you have to cold call or not. For example, for me, I don't have to cold call. Like, should I still cold call just to callous the mind? Say, you know what? Don't still like to do it all the time, but you know what? even if I got my business going, do it. Just go ahead and do those things once in a while, just to callous the mind. You know, I'm the kind of that'll do something physical too, like that, where it's like snow outside, walk barefoot for a while, just like, you know, hey, listen, you get outside the comfort zone. That's why like the cold bath, sometimes cold showers, cold bath. You know, I believe in things that are putting you outside that comfort zone, and you know, even if you're not getting put in it, you're putting yourself in that, so you are prepared for when things don't go quite right. You have that callous mind, and I think you're a prime example of that, because you've calloused yourself, and then all of a sudden it was your, you know, now, hey, listen, this is my thing. And to turn it like that is such a beautiful thing, like you said. I absolutely love the story. So, hey,
Awesome.
awesome, great job. I mean, listen to that, guys. If you're out there right now and you're a loan officer, real estate agent, you're insurance agent, you're kind of struggling, just think about this story of, maybe you feel like your back is against the wall. To fight out of that corner, figure out, like, just, you're going to figure it out along the way sometimes. Call people, do the activities that you don't want to do, but you know is going to produce you like the most amount of income and leverage. Just like John said, go do that right now. Like after this podcast, go, you know, set yourself a goal, go 10 cold calls or whatever you got to do. So John, definitely great. Want to ask you before, we
Yeah.
always ask our guests, and you know, love to hear your feedback, is, if you were me, which I'd be horrible for you, I'm sorry to put yourself like, oh no, I don't want that. Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. But if you were me in a new state as a mortgage loan officer, zero contacts to 150 loans, what are the three things that you would do to get 150 loans?
Well, if I was moving to a new state, first off, you know, in an industry like yours, it really is, it's a numbers game. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's a numbers
Mm-hmm.
game.
Yep.
And you've got to know that. Like
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I would do is I would make sure I got my mind right, you know, and there's a lot of ways to do that, guys. You have to get your mind right. 90% of success in anything, and I believe this, is mindset.
Yep.
Like if you have the right mindset, you're unstoppable. I mean, think about a time in your life when you were just on fire, and think about a time in your life where you're just having negative thoughts. And so, you know, if I move to a new state, the first thing I would do is I would focus on getting myself around people that are making things happen. Ed Milet says this the best. He's like, everybody is like a thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, we're all at different temperatures. You know, if you're at 70, you have got to start hanging out with people that are 75, 80 degrees, because by nature, obviously, your temperature will rise. But if you're hanging with a bunch of people that are 50, 60 degrees, obviously it's going to kill your motivation. And so the first thing I would do if I moved is I would do anything it took to get around high producers, because you've got to protect your mindset at all times. Not everybody, and I'm be honest, not everybody's wired like you, Adam. You
Yeah.
know, like I like I couldn't do what you did until I was so broke and backed into a corner that I literally had no choice. Had I not been there, I don't know if I've ever would have done that, unless, you know, today I'm around people right now at my circle. They produce at such high levels that I can't even imagine getting comfortable, because I'm just like, man, what I do in a month they're doing in an hour, and it's just like it keeps me going. And so you've got to do that. You know, I was reading this book, and Li Ka-shing, who at one point he was the wealthiest man in China, self-made, like was like $40 billion. And they asked him, they were like, you know, if you had to start all over again, like you had no contacts, no knowledge, nothing, like what would you do? You could take one piece of knowledge with you. And he said, he's like, I would make sure that I would save enough money from whatever job I had, that 2 times a month I could take someone far more successful than me to dinner, to a nice place. He's like, if you can take two people a month, that's 24 dinners in a year. Those contacts alone will change your entire life. So I say that the first thing I would do is I would get my mind right by doing whatever I could do to start hanging around people that are way more successful than me. May seem like a waste, but it's not a waste of time, because that will protect your mindset and it will prevent you from getting comfortable. If you're somebody like me who's just not built aggressive, like day, because I'm a humble person. I'm kind of like passive in most cases. Like I only do something I regret, like if I have to. So I need to always have my mindset, And then another tip for mindset is I read biographies. I don't read a lot of how-to books because I found that getting too much personal development that's how to, it has the opposite effect of motivating you and actually kill it, because it gives you too much information and you don't know how to act on any of it. What I find is I read biographies of really great people because you get the lessons, but you also get the journey and the story, and it's told emotionally so that you remember it way, way, way longer. Like I remember biographies that I read 10 years ago. I don't remember some how-to books that I read a month and a half ago. And so that's the first thing, protect my mind. Second thing, just get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Like you, especially if you're in real estate and mortgages, it's just like, okay, like because if you're with a company or with a brokerage, who is the top producer. You need to freaking shadow that person. Like I'll tell you one last little story here. My preschool does about $1.5 million a year. I didn't know anything about running a preschool. Like I literally, and same thing with my fiance in real estate. Like she didn't know anything about real estate. When she moved to Nashville, we had our daughter. She decided to get into real estate. So this is what she did. This is just naturally. We went and we Googled top producing real estate brokers in the state of Tennessee. And there was 3. She cold called all 3 of them, was like, hey, listen, I'm looking to transition into real estate. And rather than working for someone that I want to work with the highest producer. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. You tell me to jump, I'll tell you how high, I'll do whatever it takes. One wasted her time. One told her she didn't have an opening, and the third one was willing to meet. Long story short, finding that mentor saved her so much time. This is what you are to a lot of people, Adam. You're a mentor. So the second thing I would do is if I was in real estate or mortgage, I would like, okay, who's the top fucking producer in my office, in my city, and what do I have to do to be hanging on that person's coattails? Because again, you could spend a lifetime learning from your own mistakes or lunch learning from somebody else's. So you just find that mentor. That's what I would do. If I wanted to get to a 0-100, who's doing 150 loans a year right now? Boom. I need to be that person's shadow. And the third thing is just put in the work and stop trying to avoid pain. I had a mentor share this with me a long time ago. He said to me, the reason people aren't successful is because they look at pain like this obstacle that they're trying to like navigate and move around. He's like, if you could just understand that pain is a part of the journey and include it as a normal part of the journey, if it's just a normal part of it, you won't spend so much time trying to avoid it. And instead you'll try to tackle it because it's just a part of it, right? Like pain, rejection, this is a no is a part of the yes. It's not something that you're trying to avoid to get to the yes. It's a part of it. And once you realize that will help you just plow through it, and you won't have such a negative mindset around rejection or a no. It's just like a waiter at a restaurant, right? Like, yeah, hey, would you like some more coffee? And they're like, no. You're not going to take it personal and go home and be pissed off all day. It's not that they're rejecting you. They're just rejecting your offer. They're just rejecting your opportunity. They're not rejecting who you are. They don't even know you. They don't know you as a person. They don't know what you're all about. They don't know your morals. So when you get told no, it has nothing to do with who you are and what kind of person you are. It has everything to do with timing usually, and nothing else. Like that's it. And so that's what I would do. I'd move in, make sure that my mind's right, networking with the right people. I'd find a mentor that I can hang on their coattails and do whatever it takes to be a part of their circle. And then I would just do the work and stop trying to avoid the uncomfortable part of it. Just do it. And that's it. And that's how I do 150 loans.
Dude, I love it. I absolutely love it. That is stuff to take home with you for sure. I mean, yeah, the mindset has to be right. And one of the reasons I love this podcast is because kind of like the 24 it's like every week I'm having someone on here it's higher level than me altogether, higher level than me on something. And that's what I love, because I love these and being, maybe not the best on the podcast. That's great. I mean,
Right.
that's the best thing. That's what I love, And so, yeah, 100%. And I love what you said about the pain, because, and for me, like I posted this thing a couple of weeks ago. It was funny, but the Baker Mayfield, when he says, they asked him on a press conference, they said, he said, I woke up feeling really dangerous today, and I posted that, like, saying that's what I do before my phone calls. But because you just know, like, hey, you gotta, okay, it's just, may have to walk through calls or pain today, but that's great. And that's what makes me different. That's what makes me special. And that's why I can garner and earn respect from people. And that's why I can do more. And I love what you said about timing. God, that's one that people just miss, because it's like, I could try to get you on a podcast, whatever. And for example, and then all of a sudden, because you got everything going on that day, you read the message, you're just like, you're distracted or something happens. And then, like, I reach out again, you're like, yeah. But then if I just, he just ignored me that one time. It's like, it doesn't mean that you're not the right fit for each other. It just maybe not the right timing. And that is huge, because keep following up with people, because you never know when that timing all of a sudden is going to happen. It's like the stars align all of a sudden. Then they're open to having a conversation, dialogue, and then they do respect you. They do take time to talk to you. So love that. That is really good stuff. John,
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No.
I was just going to say, my fiance's broker, talk about timing. There's this guy that followed up with her for 6 months, and she's just like, no, I have a preferred lender, and, we have a good relationship. Well, that preferred lender got arrogant, started investing into like an app, and was just like not taking care of her clients like he used to. And sure enough, TJ, who kept following up, the timing was right. He kept staying on top of it. He became that preferred lender. And I mean, from her alone, he probably gets 100 to 300 loans a year just from that. And so you just never know. You never know.
That's so yes, 100%. That's happened in my business in Kentucky. Saying just keep in front of them. All of a sudden they're like, oh, there you go. Because and if you just go with a serving attitude and don't worry about it, and it's because, hey, can I say, if I can't serve you right now and you're good, and it's good. I mean, being very detached from that sale, but just staying in front, because you may be losing a big opportunity by timing. So, and I'd share that today. Actually, it was just like marketing and prospecting. There's 1 of 3 levels. It's some there's immediate, you're working on immediate stuff, and then all the way to that one that may take you a year.
Yeah.
And a big producer like that may take a year or 2 years for you to develop. Just consistently kind of stay in front of it. Not maybe every week, but you're still touching, and you never know when that's good opportunity is going to come up. So absolutely love it. So John, where can we find you? Where can I, anything any reason, or I know there's reasons to reach out to you, like, maybe specific reasons, just kind of give us the scoop.
Yeah, man, I'm always happy to help. I do the podcast and teach just because I really enjoy doing it. So, I host the Mentor Nation podcast. It's available everywhere you would listen to a podcast. It would be awesome. I just started the YouTube channel to like upload the podcast. So you can go to YouTube and search Mentor Nation podcast. I'd obviously appreciate if you subscribed. And I release an episode typically every week with some high producing entrepreneur, although sometimes I'll fit in like people that have really interesting stories and that are doing something really unique and cool too. But yeah, I'm on Instagram. The podcast is Mentor Nation Podcast, or my personal is just John Abbas 82. So John Abbas 82. Feel free to connect, shoot me a message. I always respond on Instagram, and happy to help any way I can.
That's awesome. Yeah. Tune in, guys. As you can tell, he's got the mindset, the will to win. He's got the evidence of success, and like he said, you want to sit in with those type of mentors and listen to it. And the podcast is the same way. So thank you so much for, allowing myself, my audience to share the platform with you. And thank you so much for coming on. It was truly an honor. I'm going to re-listen. I love re-listening these when it comes out, and just I'll take some more nuggets from it. I know it, and it'll help me. I'm sure one of the days this next week when it comes out Thursday, but when I listen to it, maybe Thursday might spark another like surge for me to do even better that day. So awesome. I appreciate it. Love it. John, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you. Take care, brother. John.